members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew. Excuse me. Welcome to another edition, another episode of Roll the Tape podcast with Manager Marty. I am your host, Manager Marty. We have a very special guest today. We're starting this thing right off the right way. I welcome each and every last one of you for joining today. I know that there's a lot of things going on all over the world, but we're glad that you're here with us today. And for those of you that are not live and you're watching the replay of this live, feel free to like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. I really appreciate your feedback. Now, we have a very, very special guest today. He is a professional boxing judge. All of you already know that I always make sure that I provide education first and then entertainment second for you, right? And the quality that I produce here on YouTube, I take it very seriously. And as far as the audience is concerned, I know that you all appreciate it. So I try to make sure when I can and when other people are available, you know, they will be able to come onto the platform, here on the channel, here on the podcast, give us their expertise in the field as far as the sport and the business of boxing, to be able to educate each and every last one of you. So today we have a very special guest. We have been trying to get this interview popping for some time now. I reached out to him about almost a year ago. And so now we're able to get it done. And so let me get him on the phone. We had some technical difficulties too. We had some technical difficulties, so it was very difficult for our guest to come on through the StreamYard platform. That was the platform that, you know, I sent him the link to through the advertisement earlier, but at the same time, he was having some difficulties, technically speaking, because he's never done StreamYard. So we decided, the same way we did with the great Harvey Doc, we've decided to have a phone dialogue with myself and the guest. And you guys and ladies are in for a treat. He's the gold standard, as they call him in boxing, with regards to licensed boxing judging, okay? And so let me get him on the phone now. Give me 1 second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew, I've already given you a little welcome, an introduction. We have a very special guest here with us today via phone. As I mentioned before, if you're just joining us live and live in color, we were having technical difficulties, so we weren't able to do our usual StreamYard when I invite guests on. So this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to do it through a phone dialogue. Now, you may have heard his name if you watched some of the biggest boxing matches in the last almost 30 something years, when the ring announcer announces the judges, sometimes before the fight and even after the fights, when the ring announcer is reading the judges' scorecards. And I'm talking about our guest. He is considered the gold standard of professional boxing judging. And that is my friend, my guy, Mr. Steve Weisfeld. The last time you may have heard his name, obviously, was a televised bout on ESPN between Teofimo Lopez and Jermaine Ortiz. Some of you remember that fight, and he is here with us right now on the phone. Steve, how you doing today, man? Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Marty, thank you for the kind introduction. It's an honor to be on your show.
All right, Steve, listen, I know you don't have a lot of time, and I appreciate you investing your time to educate the audience. Let's start from the beginning. first and foremost, when was your first exposure to the sport of boxing?
Well, I remember like it was yesterday, Marty. It was actually almost 50 years ago. My grandmother had passed away that day, and my parents said that I could turn on the TV, which was unusual. Usually I had an allowance of an hour a week to watch TV, but they said that I could turn on the television. And I remember January 24th, 1976, I turned on the TV and I saw Ron Lyle fight George Foreman, one of the most exciting fights I've ever seen. And if there was, I don't know, Evel Knievel on or Demolition Derby, I probably wouldn't be on the call right now. But that's how I got my passion for the sport of boxing, from watching that fight, and the passion has never left me.
Awesome, Steve. So, was there something that stuck out to you when you first was watching that? That fight with George Foreman and Ron Lyle. Like, what stuck out to you the most since that was your first time watching boxing?
Oh, I thought it was incredible, and maybe the late Howard Cosell added to the proceedings, but it was just an incredible back and forth fight with numerous knockdowns, high drama, and it just that fight got me hooked to the sport. And the next time I certainly they didn't need judges for that one, but I think shortly afterwards, next time I watched the fight, I went to the TV with a pen and an index card, and I would practice scoring. But it was just tremendous back and forth drama that I haven't seen again, and I strongly recommend to all of your listeners and viewers, if they haven't seen that fight, to watch that fight immediately. I'm sure that's available on YouTube.
Absolutely. So, that we share something. Well, we share a lot of things in common, Steve, but particularly we are USA Boxing family. You came up in the USA Boxing rankings, of course, being trained and certified as a judge, as a referee, as an official. Same with me, as you know. How did you get into USA Boxing? What made you want to volunteer your time and getting to judging in the first place?
Well, just like you or true boxing fans, we just wanted the right boxer to win, regardless of where the boxer is from, whether the boxer is a challenger or the champion. We just want to do what's right for the sport. So when I was a kid, I would just ask questions, and people, I'm sure they told the same thing to you. You can't do it, and you just continue to ask. But when I was to become an amateur boxing judge, and then I passed that test, and I remember I became an amateur apprentice, which meant that I would go fight, unofficially score the amateur fights, and I did that for a while, and then they put me in to be an actual amateur boxing judge starting in 1986, and I did amateur judging in New Jersey and New York for 5 years. That was before Commissioner Larry Hazard asked me if I wanted to be in his apprenticeship program, which meant that I would have to go to every single fight, mostly in Atlantic City, unofficially score the fights. And I did that for about 9 months, and turns out one of the judges got stuck in traffic. So that's how I became a professional boxing judge in New Jersey, and very similar in New York. I know that Commissioner Randy Gordon, he had an apprenticeship program too. But I lived in New Jersey at the time. Most of my apprenticeship was in New Jersey, going back and forth to AC.
Oh yeah, and speaking of Larry Hazard, Larry Hazard's a good guy. He actually helped me in my start some years ago in boxing. Most of my audience do not know this, being licensed as a professional boxing manager in the state of New Jersey. So we shout out and salute the great Larry Hazard. Now, when you talked about going into the professional rankings, what year was that when Mr. Larry Hazard approached you about being a professional boxing judge? Around what year was that, Steve?
I think I became a professional boxing judge in 1992 in New Jersey, and it was slightly earlier, 1991 in New York.
Yeah. So you started in 90, between, like, basically between 91 and 92, between
That's right.
New York and New Jersey.
Correct.
Right. All right. So your first fight, what was the first fight? If you, I mean, 91, 92, that was a very long time ago, man. It, do you remember the first fight you professionally judged?
You know what? I don't remember the first fight that I professionally judged, but I do remember the first main event that I professionally judged, which was on the same card. It was Larry Barnes versus David Taylor. It was at the old Hotel Pennsylvania, right across the street from Madison Square Garden in New York. I remember, it was a great night of boxing. They had, nobody got hurt. The right fighter won. And I remember for the main event, it was a unanimous decision. And I was, fortunate to do the main event with two great boxing judges, both of whom have since passed away, Georgie Colon and Harold Letterman. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if you remember Larry Barnes, but he went on to, I know he had a world title shot against Felix Trinidad. So he was a very good fighter in his own right.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, I met Harold Letterman. And one of the things that I noticed very quickly about Harold Letterman was that he sounded exactly like he did on TV, Steve.
And I'll tell you, it was an honor to work with him even back then, before, years before he got on TV. This was back in 1991, I believe.
Yeah, rest in peace to Harold Letterman. His daughter, Julie, she judges now professionally, correct?
She judged. I don't think that she's an active judge, but certainly she was an excellent judge also.
Right. Now, there is a protocol. You don't have to go into grave detail about it, Steve, but if you can give the audience your experience when you got the call that you will be given an assignment to judge your first televised main event. I mean, the one that, most people will hear your name announced, let's say on HBO or Showtime or ESPN back in those days, or even ABC. What was that experience like when you finally realized, dang, my name is going to be called, I'm going to be on an actual televised main event card to actually judge professionally?
Well, I think that the, one of the first title fights I did was Jesse Benavidez versus Tracy Harris Patterson. That was during what they called the Storm of the Century. That was February of 1993. And that was, I believe, my first title fight. I remember that was on ABC. And I think the announcers were Alex Wallach and Dan Dieroff, former football player. So, that was an honor to do that fight. But, whether it's your first fight doing anything or, whether, the situations are different. It could be the first time on such and such a station, your first time in such and such a country. But at the end of the day, Marty, you still have to focus on why you're there. We're there, not for ourselves. We're there for the fighters, and we have to bring the same professionalism, whether or not it's a 4-rounder or a title fight. So at the end of the day, it certainly is an honor to get any assignment, but again, we have to focus on why we're there.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about focus. Let's talk about why the judges are there. We may have some audience members, Steve, that may not know all of the judging criteria. I say it all the time here, Steve, but you are the expert today, and I'm going to defer to you. Can you let the audience know what is the judging criteria, and can you break down what each criteria represent?
Sure. Well, the first thing, obviously, you have to look at is what constitutes a legal landed punch, a punch in the scoring area. So by that, by the scoring area, people generally know what the scoring area is, but sometimes there's some questions about, well, is it a low blow or is it a fair punch? And first of all, as a judge, you have to listen to the referee. If the referee says it's a low blow, then you can't score it as a clean landed punch. But if the referee doesn't say anything, then the judge uses his or her own judgment. And this is not tennis, where, well, if the punch hits the edge of a particular line, it's fair. Or football, on the other hand, where if your foot's on the line, it's foul. You have to use common sense. So did the punch primarily land on the belt, in which case it's a fair punch, or did it land below the belt? And, where we can't see, obviously, under the belt, but in general, the top of the hip area, the hip bone, is where the bottom of the belt is. So that's what constitutes a low punch, a low blow. Also, the question is, well, what happens if a fighter turns his or her head? And if a fighter turns his or her head and the punch lands on the back of the head, that's not a legal punch. You basically draw the line down through the ears all the way down to the chest, the stomach, and the sides. And in general, it's up to the judge to decide whether or not the punch is a clean landed punch. Like I said, we listen to the referee. If the referee tells us it's a foul, but if I see a punch that lands, for example, and it's clearly after the bell or the fighter is holding and hitting, then that's not a clean landed punch. So that's the first thing you have to look at, Marty, right?
Yes.
Does the punch land? Right. Then you also have to look at the number of punches that land in the round versus the hardness of the punch versus the effectiveness of the punch.
Yep.
Hardness and effectiveness are not necessarily the same thing. So, Marty, if I hit you with my quote-unquote big right hand and nothing happens, and you hit me with your jab and I go staggering back, everything else being equal, who's winning that round? You are, because your punch is more effective. So that's what judges generally look at, the punches that land in the round. I mean, it used to be in the old days, it would say that judges have 4 criteria: clean punches, effective aggressiveness, defense, and ring generalship. But what judges really focus on are clean punches.
Got you. Now, Steve, we won't go into grave detail about it. You and I already discussed this, but you scored a particular bout between Jermaine Ortiz and Teofimo Lopez, 117 to 111. Most people don't understand when you talked about the old scoring criteria of effective aggressiveness. How do a judge score a round when two fighters, they're not really throwing significant punches or effective punches that they're landing, but they're moving around. One fighter might be jumping on his or her bicycle, as we call it in boxing, trying to use defensive tactics, but then you may have a fighter, their opponent, who's being aggressive in their pursuit, but there's no punches or cleaner punches or effective punches being landed. How does a judge score that particular round for any fight?
Well, I guess the key question is for any fight. As I've mentioned, I am prohibited by commissions from speaking about any fights in particular.
Yes.
Because, as I said, if whether or not I judge the fight or I didn't judge the fight, judges cannot speak about and critique particular fights.
Yes.
But I can tell you this, that certainly you have to look at a fight round by round. So if I have a fight, say 9-3 or 10-2, that doesn't mean that I think the fight is a one-sided fight. Your allegiance has to be to each individual round. So I might think that a fight is tremendously close, but I have to hit the reset button every single round And if I think that the fighter wins, say 3 or 4 rounds close, and maybe the next round even closer, I have to give that round, that individual round to the fighter. And you're right. You have to take into account, as we discussed, the effectiveness of the punch. Sometimes it's not always evident what punches are effective. And it's also not evident sometimes from watching on TV because, and this is just a general comment, I mean, you could watch a fight on TV and score it a particular way, but you don't necessarily get the sense of the effectiveness of the punches, including the body shot. So sometimes you just have to, be there to feel the punches, to see the punches closely, to hear the fighters' grunts on the punches. So, I have to give you a general answer, but
yes,
that's how you judge. That's how you judge a boxing match.
right. Good answer. So Steve, most of the audience, they hear commentators use terms like 10-8 round, and then on most broadcasts on TV, we'll see the unofficial scorecards of commentators, and they sometimes will have one fighter scored 10 points, the other fighter scored 8 points. Can you tell the audience what is a 10-8 round? What is that? What is the significance of a 10-8 round?
Well, the most common way to get to a 10-8 round is obviously by a knockdown, right? A knockdown round is generally a 10-8 round. And the standard today typically is that unless the other boxer decisively and dominantly wins a vast majority of the round, then you could bring it back to 10-9. If a fighter, without a knockdown, decisively and dominantly wins the vast majority of the round, that could also be a 10-8 round. And there are a few examples of those. But, that's why we have seminars. We don't want to, move too fast. You could have, the terms we use are close, moderate, decisive.
Yes.
And those are all 10-9 rounds. Or you could have a round without a knockdown that's extremely decisive, and that's also a 10-8 round.
Yep. So out of all fairness to a fighter who gets knocked down twice in the same round, would that be considered a 10-7 round?
Yeah, 10-7 rounds, generally 2 knockdowns, 3 knockdown rounds, generally 10-6. I've never gone below 10-6. I've never scored a round where there are 4 knockdowns in a round. And, we generally do score partial rounds. Even rounds are extremely frowned upon these days.
Yep.
According to BoxRec, last year in the United States, you had 5 rounds that were transmitted to BoxRec in the United States that were deemed even by the judges. Only 5 in the entire year. And just, contrast that with a title fight from 1971, Carmelo Bassi versus Jose Hernandez, where you had 26 even rounds in one fight.
Whew.
So, we're paid not to sit on the fence. We're paid to score rounds, and a great majority of rounds, I think 96% of rounds last year were 10-9 rounds.
Yep. That's true. Real quick, and I know you have to go, Steve. So can you give the audience the information on who actually regulate the officials? In other words, do a promoter of an event call you up on the phone and say, hey, Steve Weisfeld, I want you to judge this particular fight? Is the sanctioning bodies or the athletic commissions, who oversee choosing the actual officials for each event?
Well, I believe in the United States, under the Ali Act, that the commissions choose the officials. So, overseas, you may get a call from a sanctioning body to do a bout overseas, or you may get a call from the local commission too. But you certainly don't get calls from the promoters.
Right. You are a boxing judge Hall of Famer. When you got that call that you were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Steve, you are considered the gold standard of pro boxing judging in our country here in America. What was your experience like when you got that call that you were actually going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
It was an honor. I was inducted in the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame,
Yep.
And also the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. So they were both great honors, and I was just excited that my that my parents and the rest of my family could be there. So that was the main thing, having my family there for that. But it's just a true honor. I think we have we have seminars from time to time, and I don't think of myself as better or worse than any other official. We really work as a team, and we just have to work together and try to do better for the boxer's sake.
Absolutely. And one final question, Steve. You and I talked about the ABC. Most boxing fans probably never even heard of the name before. Can you tell us about the ABC, who they are, what they represent, and your role as a member of the ABC?
Well, I know that the Association of Boxing Commissions, they oversee boxing in North America, and they also have seminars from time to time, not only in boxing but in MMA. This weekend, March 16th, I'm going to be doing a seminar for them up in Massachusetts. And I know Jack Reese, excellent referee from California, is doing the referee seminar. The ABC also has, a charity for boxers who are down and out, and they've also, paid for a number of boxers' funerals, unfortunately. So, the charity does good work also. Yep.
And one more question for you, Steve, for the audience sake, for everybody that just came in. I see people in the chat. Salute to all of you. This is the great Steve Weisfeld. He is the boxing judge, golden standard here in our sport. One more question, Steve. When you complete judging, let's say the entire fight is completely over, the bout that you're judging, where do the judges go? Do you just go home immediately following that if there's more fights left over? What happened to the judges after the bout that you are assigned to judge?
Well, generally you work more than one fight. I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking, but generally you work more than one fight on a card. So sometimes if you have the title fight, that could be the only fight that you have on the show. But if you most of the time though, like I said, you're working more than one fight. So the answer to your question is you have to stay very close to the ring, because you don't know when the swing bout's going to come out. You don't know when there's going to be a change in bout order, and you don't want to be, outside or not paying attention, not close to ringside. If the fighters are ready and you're judging, then you have to be ready. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but
absolutely, yes.
Close side.
Yep, because I just wanted to point out that the judges do rotate throughout the entire evening and duration of the entire card. I guess that's where I was trying to go with that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's not fair for the fighters. I've seen it one time where the fighters were waiting in the ring because one of the judges was not at ringside. And as I said before, we're a team. And if you have to leave for a couple minutes, you tell a fellow judge, look, I'll be right back. But, people have to know our whereabouts. So this is, we work too hard to get where we are, to disappear at the most important moments.
Yep. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. I know you got to go. I wanted to be very respectful of your time And man, thank you for educating my audience and coming on. We look to have you again, Steve. It's always a pleasure, man. Thank you very much, man.
Marty, thanks for having me.
You got it, Steve. I'll talk to you later.
Here, bye-bye.
My guy. That was the great Steve Weisfeld. We knew that he did not have a bunch of time. He already told me that a few weeks back when we talked about this on this particular day. So I didn't want to go dive in deep on the questions. You know, when I have people up here, I want to make sure I ask the most critical and important questions so that you all, the audience, can get educated. And I hope you learned something about judging that you did not know before you came here. And that's what this channel is all about. We do a whole lot of entertainment. You know, I got 5 different characters that I use simultaneously to present my message and talk about certain topics here on the channel. But, you know, we still have to, you know, stay focused on the primary objective, and that is education. Hold on one second. I wanted to see something since I got everyone here. Is Prag still here? Oh, I think my Mr. Prag, you still here, Mr. Prag? I seen it, Prag. I got it. I was gonna ask you something. I seen it. So, we're hearing that Tank Davis and Frank Martin, they are fighting, right? That's what we're hearing. Is it official? This is official. We were supposed to talk about this yesterday, but you know, in all honesty, I actually forgot. I got caught up into, you know, the entertainment value yesterday, and then of course, you know, I was talking about the different fights that was in the title. I didn't put Frank Martin and Gervonta Tank Davis in the title. If I did I? I don't think I did. But even if I didn't, I publicly opened my mouth and said we were going to discuss it earlier on in the broadcast. So I'm hearing, oh, it's not official. Okay, yeah, I wanted to make sure because I don't like talking about stuff and it's not official. Like, it's not official. We can keep talking about it, but at some point though, once we realize it's not official, it's gonna make us want to move on and talk about something else. So the fight is not official. I personally, I personally don't know if oh, let me see something real quick. I personally don't know, you know, what the numbers would do. You know, because everybody keep, let me talk about that. Speaking of numbers, people talk about numbers all the time, right? I said this before. I'm going to use this opportunity to say it again. When I talk about what the numbers are going to do and what they're not going to do, I'm referring about all of the numbers, you know, all of the numbers. Here's my thing about people talking about the numbers. This goes all across the board when we talk about the YouTube boxing community, right? Majority of the boxers that we talk about on YouTube or in personal conversation, majority of them are signed under contract. I try to educate you all on this before. I want to do it again. If a professional boxer is signed under a contract with a promoter, majority of the time, they're going to, all of the time, let me say this part first. All of the time, they're going to receive a guaranteed purse. I told you all that before. A minimum, which means that, hey, this is the minimum that this fighter is going to be paid or compensated, irregardless of who the opponent is. And then there's the maximum, right? So the promoter's not going to pay a professional boxer underneath the minimum and exceeding the maximum. All right, that's how the contracts usually work, typically. So with that being said, if a boxer is locked into a guaranteed contract, when I say guaranteed, I'm referring to the term purse, the compensation for the fighters, right? That fighter, majority of the time, is not entitled to back end money. That is the whole purpose of not being That's the purpose of not being caught up into getting a guaranteed contract and being a free agent, right? Hold on one second, y'all. Yeah, that was salute. Where my man, Mr. Prag? He's still here. Oh, Mr. Greg here. You know they're gonna call me Mac Marty in a minute. Yeah, yeah. You know they're gonna call me Mac Marty in a minute. Yeah, no, I put it on mute. I had to answer the call. You know how it is. Listen, where I was at. Right. So here's the thing. When a fighter is locked into a guaranteed contract, right? You got it, Mr. Prag. You already know. And speaking of Mr. Prag, I want to salute all of the members of the channel that's here, including Mr. Pragmatic. I don't know who else is here because I was in an interview and I just was looking at the chat periodically. So salute to all of the members of the channel that is here, supervisors of the Roll the Tape film crew. I want to make sure I publicly acknowledge you. Now, yeah, so if a fighter is locked into a guaranteed contract, right? Majority of the time, they're not getting any back in money. Like ticket sales, pay-per-view splits, and all. We keep hearing these terms being thrown around loosely on YouTube, and I just want to correct everybody because as soon as somebody pay-per-view buys come out, the first thing people think is, well, the fighter, they received a piece of the pay-per-view buys. Well, if they locked into a guaranteed contract, most likely no, they didn't. Which means to me, there's really no point of bringing up pay-per-view buys unless it's going to benefit the fighter. Because the last time I checked, the only people that the pay-per-view buys benefit is the network, the middleman, and the promoter, not the fighters, if they're locked into that kind of deal. That's the whole point of a promoter guaranteeing the purse of the fighter. Look, if I pay you, I'm just using a big number. If I pay you 3.5 million and that's a guarantee for you, no matter who you fight, if we do a big pay-per-view, well, I already paid you. This is the promoter talking now. I already paid you your guaranteed purse, right? I already gave you your compensation according to what you signed in the language of the contract. So when it comes down to the pay-per-view buys and the splits and the numbers and ticket sales and all these great things we keep hearing about, well, that revenue that is generated doesn't benefit the fighters. I just wanted to educate everybody on that because I broke this down before, but we keep hearing pay-per-view. Speaking of pay-per-view buys, we heard Band Up tell us yesterday that he received an inbox from Blue Blood Sports TV, who he said, he, meaning Band Up, said that he asked Blue Blood Sports TV about the pay-per-view buys. Remember, I called him on Instagram yesterday if y'all were here. And I'm the one that told Band Up to ask Blue Blood that question. And the reason why is because Band Up hit me up on Instagram and he gave me some information. It had nothing to do with BLK Prime, had nothing to do with the pay-per-view buys that Terrence Crawford and David Evanesian did, right? So I asked him, well, who is your source? And he showed me the proof that it was Blue Blood Sports TV that gave him information. So I said, well, since you can directly inbox and DM the guy, why don't you ask him about the question that I've been asking since December the 12th, 2022? And that is the pay-per-view buys for Terrence Crawford versus David Evanesian. And the reason why is because we haven't heard Blue Blood Sports TV give us the numbers yet. We have heard him and others speak on everybody else's pay-per-view buy numbers. But if you are an executive, or you have the authority to make executive decisions with a streaming platform, why not know the numbers and then disseminate the information? It don't matter, and I said this yesterday and I'll say it again, it does not matter if Terrence Crawford and David Evanesian did 30,000 buys. It don't matter if they did 3 million buys. What difference does it make? We just wanted to know what the pay-per-view buys were. Everybody else asked about everybody else pay-per-view buys, like Tank Davis and Hector Garcia, Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney and Regis, Devin Haney and Kambosos, Devin Haney and Lomachenko, right? We asked about everybody else's numbers. Now we want to figure out what those numbers are. And the reason why we should be able to ask that question is because the guy who was over there, he's on YouTube. He's a content creator. So we could ask that man about the numbers. At least I still wanted to know. So according to what we heard thus far from Band Up, he told us that, hey, Blue Blood Sports TV said that Terrence Crawford versus David Evanesian did 150,000 pay-per-view buys. So, you know, we do education on the business of boxing on this channel. We do. And we also do entertainment, right? I don't know who Joe is, but I saw what Gregory Quarterbaum said to a guy named Joe. Yeah, we do, man, we do it all over here. Except for one thing, we don't gossip. We don't do that over here. But we do everything else. We got panels going on, you know. We have live discussions, you know. We disagree. We do the Town Watch check-in. We do a lot of unique things over here. So it's not just me just blah, 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 blah. No, that's why I get the characters. That's why I present those characters to entertain you. You know what I mean? We talk about current events. If it's not no beef and drama and messy stuff, we'll talk about it. Most likely we will discuss it. You know, but if it's like messy, this person said, I don't really get into all that, you know. But I thought it was necessary to get into that Bill Haney versus Adrian Broner situation when they were going back and forth, because it was a lot of controversy surrounding the sparring that we've been talking about for a long time. Now, I didn't speak on the sparring on this channel, but of course, members of the channel, people that are in the chat, people that come over just to breeze through, like returning viewers, newcomers, subscribers, the Roll to Tape film crew, family members, everybody's talking about it. YouTube, boxing community, everybody's talking about it. So, you know, we touched on it just briefly, you know what I mean? And I wanted to use that opportunity to give both men, Bill and Adrian, you know, an opportunity to hear from a professional that represents this business moving forward, how we can conduct ourselves as professionals even after all of this is over. So I used that time to do that. And of course, it was a form of entertainment with that as well. So yeah, I just wanted to have Steve Weisfeld come on, you know, onto the channel, give us some education, you know, on the judging criteria. What do judges look for? I mean, you heard it. I mean, he has, man, I was trying to count to give y'all this stat real quick before I called him, how many professional boxing matches he actually judged. And of course, a couple of Mayweather fights. He done been he done been ringside for all of them, since 91 and 92. 1991 and 92 is when he started. You heard him if you was here from the beginning. So I always want to make sure I give y'all professional experts and their insight, their education, their expertise when it comes to certain topics. And speaking of that, I want to leave y'all with this. I need you all to come back really soon. Really soon. I have a very, 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 very special guest coming. I got a big treat for y'all because y'all been holding me down. I'm talking about the Roll the Tape film crew. I'm talking about the supervisors of the Roll the Tape film crew. Y'all been holding me down. Y'all been coming over here, constantly supporting me, providing time. See, that's the key. Time, the biggest asset, the most important asset is your time. And when you invest your time over here, I greatly appreciate it. And of course, when you donate your fiduciaries, your financial support is always necessary to keep this channel growing and keep us, active to defray the costs and expenses. It's very expensive to run a YouTube channel business. It's expensive. And it's extensive too, but it's also not just that, it's very rewarding. And I believe the rewards go beyond putting money in your pocket as a profit. That's just me. That's how I run my business over here. I mind my businesses. That's what I do. I mind my businesses, So I don't know if spin the block. Terrence Crawford say he spend the block. He spend the block. Spending the block. I don't know if Frank Martin and Tank Davis is official or not. So I don't want to waste all of this unnecessary time, talking about a fight that we don't know what's going to happen. Back on the numbers thing, I like Frank Martin, of course. I like Tank Davis. I like all the fighters, man. But the thing about it is, I don't think it generate enough buzz yet for those two guys, to come together and fight. We haven't seen Adrian Broner, Devin Haney, Tank Davis, Terrence Crawford. We haven't seen them have a lot of black fighters on their resume. And there is a reason for that. Remember, you heard me talk about that in January and February of last year, if y'all recall. I've been talking about that. Those 4 fighters having that same thing in common besides being world champions. There's a reason for that. There's a business model in place to make these men successful and generate the most revenue and their earning potential. All right. So with that being said, I think Tank is at a place in his career where he can fight anybody. But we got to talk about generating numbers. And I'm not saying Frank can't generate those numbers, but let's be clear here. I mean, he was just in a conversation with a Shakur Stevenson. And I don't know if those numbers were real or not and who offered what, because that's a whole nother story for another day. Because once you are locked into a guaranteed contract as a fighter, I'm trying to figure out how you offer somebody anything. That ain't just for Shakur, that's any fighter. How you offering a fighter something when you locked into a guaranteed contract with a promoter. Same thing I said about Shakur when he said that about Frank. Same thing I said about Devin Haney and Bill Haney when they said that about everybody else. With the offer, or like when they said it about Shakur Stevens. So my question is, how y'all offering? You're offering something. You locked into a guaranteed contract with a promoter. We need answers. JSAR72, you wasn't here when I gave the general acknowledgement to all the members of the channel, so I'm going to give you one right now because you're here now. So salute to you, JSAR, member of the channel, supervisor of the Roll the Tape film crew. Motorsport Sports. Salute to you too, brother. Salute to you too. You've been on the panel several times. Why did you come in the chat and say Bud fan here? We didn't even have no topic right now. We just freestyling today. You said Bud fan here. Why you got to announce yourself as a Bud fan? You want to talk about Bud Crawford? Because look, when I talk about him, it's a problem. You see, here's the thing, Motorsports and everybody else. Motorsports proving my point. See, I be talking about other topics. For all of you that still think I'm hating on Terrence Crawford. I don't even be talking about Crawford in my lives most of the time. But Mr. Greg noticed, Mr. Pragmatic noticed, but every now and then, somebody got to come on a panel, bring up the snack program, bring up Bud, bring up this, and then we wind up talking about it for 3 hours. So, freedom of speech ain't free for me. When I say something it's going to cost me. If I say something is going to cost me, freedom of speech ain't free for me, man. That's what it is. Huh? You said you freestyling, and I hear you speaking on Bud. No, sir. I didn't say nothing about Bud Crawford, bro. What did I say? What did I say about Bud Crawford? What did I say? Tell me. You hate on Bud every chance you get, but I respect you. I respect you too, Motor. And I know you respect me, Motorsports. That's the great thing about this. Most Terrence Crawford fans like me, and they do respect me. They won't show it and say it, but I know they do. Here's the thing, Motorsports. You say I hate on Bud every chance I get. Just name one. I don't want to go all back and forth about this. What's one thing that I said that was hatred towards Bud Crawford? Just give me one thing. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can hear what you're saying. I can see you said spinning the block, but I won't put my glasses on anyway. Spinning the block. How that's hating on Bud? Okay, let me ask you a question. Motorsports. Because you trying to get me to talk about the board. This is crazy. Did Terrence Crawford say spin the block? It's just yes or no. I just want to ask you because you're in the chat and you can't come up here. Did Terrence Crawford say the words spin the block? How does boy answer the question? Come on, man. That wasn't even to Crawford. That was to Blue Blood Sports TV providing us with the information, the data, the 150,000 pay-per-view buys. So did Terrence Bud Crawford say the words spin the block? No, not spin. I said spend, S-P-E-N-D. That's what I was trying to say. Double salute to my guy, Toon. Thank you for your contribution and your support to the channel. Toon says, we knew Haney was capping, talking about Tank ducked him. How? When you was locked in a 3-fight deal, Cam, which is Cam Bosa's rematch, and Loma. But they want you to believe everybody. Tio, Matias, Tank, Shakur, all ducked. That was from my guy, Toon, and I would have to agree with you, Toon. That is correct. And I know people don't want to hear that, but hey, it was a super chat, now I'm going to speak on it. You're right. Because here's my thing. This is no shot at Devin Haney or nothing, or his fans, right? But let's keep it 100. When Devin Haney left ESPN's Top Rank Promotions deal, right? When he left, his last fight was against Lomachenko. He was asked at the press conference, and I can pull the tape up right now. I can roll the tape. He was asked about fighting Tank Davis. And he said, I got to talk it over with my team. We thinking about moving up to 140. He did not give a definitive answer at the post-fight press conference. That's when I knew that the fight was not going to happen. And go back to my channel. After the fight, I believe it was on that Monday, I gave a reaction. It's going to take me a little minute to pull it up, but I will do it if I have to. So I can let y'all hear what I said. I told Devin Haney live, get on the phone. And I'm also going to use a reference. Oh, let me stop doing theatricals and looking around and talking like this because Blue Blood Sports TV, he's going to imitate it again. So, let me talk regular. Go on YSM Sports Media channel. He interviewed me about Devin Haney's next move. And the same thing I said live, In May of 2023. I said it on YSM Sports Media channel, and I said it twice after that on this channel after the interview. I said that Devin Haney need to get on the phone now that he's a free agent and call the great Al Heyman. I said it. Al Heyman. If you want to fight Tank Davis, it's very simple. Get on the phone with his representation. What I always tell you, how did I start this YouTube channel? By saying these words: good representation in this business is priceless. That's my slogan. Everybody knows that. And I stand by that. So all Bill Haney had to do was get on the phone. That's just my personal observation and my opinion. Get on the phone and call Al Heyman. I said that in May of 2023 here on this channel, live 2 days after the fight. YSM Sports Media interviewed me about what do I believe Devin Haney should do next. I said it in that interview. This was way before Errol Spence fought Terrence Crawford. It was when the fight got officially announced, right? Then I came back on this channel twice after that, and I said the same thing, and here it is. We're in March of 2024, and I'm standing by it, and I'm saying the same thing. So, yeah. Now, back to motorsports. Yeah, but you knew what he meant, LOL, but you would highlight spend when you know he meant spend. I don't know what he meant. I don't know what Terrence Crawford meant. I don't know Terrence Crawford personally. I use the same line that Terrence Crawford fans use against me when I asked them why you think Terrence Crawford went over there to Victor Conti. You know what some of them said? Oh, I don't know him personally. I can't answer that question. I don't know I don't know. All right, so I don't know what Terrence Crawford meant either. I don't know him personally. See how dumb that sounds when I say it? Yes, I know he meant spin the block. Just like I know what he meant, motorsports, Terrence Crawford that is, when he said, you can text me at any time. You won't find nothing illegal in my system or in my body, excuse me. You remember when he said that? He didn't say you can test me anytime. He said you can text me anytime. So it might have been an error with the letters, because I think X is kind of like close to S when you text. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the point is, but I still didn't say anything. How's that hating on him? He said spin the block. Whether that's what he meant or not, he says spin the block. How's that me hating on Terrence Crawford? I don't get it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Who did that? Thank you, Mr. Pragmatic. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I don't even know what that's about. But you know, we keep the show rolling. Man, I don't even want to freestyle right now. I really want to have a real topic, but because you know, sometimes when you freestyle, you have to think on your feet. And I like doing that a lot. I think I do very well most of the times, but it's like certain things I don't want to say because it's not like really a topic for it. And then if I do say it, I'm hating. You see what I'm saying? You know, what's next then? Let's talk about what's next. What's next? What fight's coming up next? Where we at? March? Okay, March 30th. Tim Tszyu and them fighting. I think they added another fight to the card though. That kid Garcia, he was on that undercard with, I believe he was on undercard with Canelo and Charlo. Yeah, he's fighting again. He's fighting, what's my man's name? Kyrone Davis. Kyrone Davis, that won that fought, the Mexican Monster. I think he's fighting him. I think he fought David Benavidez. Don't quote me on that, but I think he did fight Benavidez. Yeah, Kyrone Davis can fight though. I like how he fights. Yeah, he's on the undercard. I think that was him that I read up on that. Llama Drama Girls. Salute. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, yeah. What's my opinion on Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? That's another fight we were supposed to talk about the other day. Well, my opinion is this. Mike Tyson is old. We already know that. I don't want Mike to get hurt. Not just in this fight, in any fight, whether it's exhibition or a professional fight. We don't know the glove size in this exhibition or not. But I don't want to see Mike Tyson get hurt. To me, it's just unnecessary. The man is getting in the ring with a guy in Jake Paul who literally just fought like 2 weeks ago, right? Last week to 2 weeks ago, last week. He just fought. So let's say they're fighting in July, right? That's what, 3 months from now? 4 months from now? They're going to fight 4 months from now, but Jake Paul just fought. Mike Tyson last time fighting was when what? He fought Roy Jones. See how much time still elapsed? I don't want the young lion who's 31 years younger than him to hurt him. I don't want nobody to hurt Mike, not in the ring. But hey, they got to make their money. So I respect it. But I think at this point though, Mike, guys, we just don't want to see any fighters get hurt. But he's still Mike though. He's still Michael Tyson. He's not nobody to be played with on no level, under any circumstances. But we got to keep it 100. This is not a fight. This is not a fight that we want to see anyone get hurt in. Jake Paul is obviously taking his boxing career seriously. Of course, they're moving him slow. He's moving himself slow. Hey, guess what? He owns his own promotion company, MVP Promotions. And see, this is what I be trying to say when y'all be saying I'm hating on Bill Haney and Devin Haney. When I give them advice, free of charge. Free of charge. That's what I want the Haneys to do. You see what Jake Paul just did? He got his own promotion company. But guess what else he did? He secured the deal with a major venue. He secured the deal with a major platform in Netflix. So I salute Jake Paul for coming in, learning the business side of it, and then getting the right people around him to take care of it and do what they do as a team, as a unit. You got to respect that. Now, I really didn't wish he was fighting Mike Tyson because if he looks good against Mike, that's not really a good barometer to show that you've improved or you're working on anything, because it's Mike. But at the same time, though, this is what I was trying to tell y'all. He got MVP Promotions. And you see how he got Netflix that's going to air this fight, according to what we're hearing? And he got AT&T Stadium, a huge stadium, according to what we're hearing, that's going to be able to produce this fight. And that's what I was saying Devin Haney needs to do, especially if he has Bill Haney behind him. And Bill Haney's supposed to know the business of boxing, right? All right, then. So if you got a promotion company, you got to go get you a deal with a network. That's where the money's at. That's all I'm saying. Find you a nice venue. That's where the money's at. Get you some up-and-coming fighters. Promote them. Give back to the sport of boxing. But I don't see any of that. That's unfortunate. But we move on. That's my take on that. Now let's get to the Jake Paul aspect of this. Jake Paul, he's still green in this business when it comes to the sport of boxing. He's still green. I'm not comfortable with him jumping in there, with somebody in his division that's ranked in the top 5. He's still green. He's still learning on the job. It's not like he came from a major amateur boxing pedigree. He's still learning on the job. So you don't want to break his confidence and let him continue to do what he's doing. I mean, all you got to do is have a big following, and you can jump in the ring as well on YouTube or ESPN or Amazon Prime, or The Zone. You got a big following. You probably never even boxed before, but you love the sport of boxing. Guess what's going to happen? You probably can go make a lobby somewhere. You can go somewhere and lobby for, I want to get in the ring and fight. And if your health is right, your age is right, you meet certain criteria and protocol, hey, you might go and get that bag. Because that's who Jake Paul's fighting, besides Mike Tyson and his brother fighting Floyd Mayweather, who's a real professional boxer. And then, Jake Paul, him getting the opportunity to fight a legitimate boxer, but let him continue to do what he's doing. He's still considerably young. Hey, somebody gotta give it up. Somebody gotta give it up. And when I say give it up, I mean that When I say give it up, I'm talking about that pride. So eventually, even though he's not undefeated, Jake is going to have to fight someone in contention for a world title or a former world champion, a affordable one, and affordable one too, which is not going to be an issue. Affordable opponent and an affordable opponent. Yes, that's how the business of boxing goes. I was saying we good. I forgot I was on mute. Yeah, man. Somebody asked me another question real quick. Haney versus Garcia. I'm not going to give my prediction yet on that fight. I'm not going to give a breakdown yet on the fight between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. And Mike Tyson, the heavyweight, isn't he? Jake Paul is not a heavyweight. He probably can put on some weight because he's younger, but he's not a heavyweight. So, we're going to see. But I think it's going to be entertaining. I don't think neither one of these guys, I don't know, man. It's Mike Tyson, though. But then again, it's Jake Paul. You see him, he knocking everybody out. Hey, we're going to see. But listen, right? I'm going to come back here tomorrow. Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I mean, I lie and say tomorrow. I won't be here tomorrow. Probably on Friday. And I'm going to do a live panel on Friday. So get ready. We got some boxing to talk about on Friday. So I might come up on here Thursday, the regular live. But then on Friday, we're going to do the panel. I want to bring the panel back on. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Okay. So I'm gonna come back probably Thursday. I know I'm coming back on Friday, but Thursday, probably around 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see. We'll see. But I appreciate everybody's time. Hope, listen, if you didn't hear all of what Steve Weisfeld said, please go back to the beginning of this live, refer to the video. He broke it down. He said some very, very interesting things. Now you know about judging, the scoring criteria. Now you know about what judges actually look for in a bout, what they look for in each round, the short-term memory loss that they have to have after every round is finished. So go back and listen to that interview, and you're going to learn a lot of different pieces of information that you most likely didn't know before you came over here. And that's why I'm glad that you came over. Appreciate it. So I might be back Thursday. Definitely going to be back Friday. All right? Appreciate everybody coming out. Appreciate y'all support. I look forward to seeing y'all. I'm going to publish some more content tomorrow. Definitely going to publish some more content tomorrow. And we be right back up here with no problem. I'm doing way too much talking. I know what I'm about to say, right? Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape. Roll